Okay, we are recording. Good morning, everybody. My name is Nina McHale. I'm the head of education and research at the Strauss Health Sciences Library at the University of Colorado Anschutz Medical Campus. And welcome to our first of 2 September lectures in the it's a lecture series, and there's a whole lot of words for the 2 groups that sponsor these. The first group is the Rocky Mountain US Cochrane Network affiliate. And the second group on our campus is the Colorado Evidence Synthesis Program. So we bring these talks to you usually about once a month, but September we do have a bonus event coming up in 2 weeks. Watch for the registration for that to open soon. And so with that, I will turn it over to Tiffany Duque, and she will introduce our panelists this morning and get us started. So over to you, Tiffany.
Great, thank you, Nina. Thanks everyone for attending today and your participation. Thank you, Nina and Strauss Library and Colorado Anschutz Medical Campus for having us and for your wonderful monthly series. Like Nina said, there's lots of great stuff every month, so be sure to join us again if this is your first time. I'm Tiffany Duque. I'm the Senior Officer of the Cochrane US Network. And today we are going to talk about how to integrate Cochrane interactive learning modules to deliver systematic review training for early stage healthcare researchers. So this is an online e-learning instructional program which provides over 15 hours through 12 modules of self-directed learning on the complete systematic review process. And it's used by individuals and institutions and organizations, and it's an excellent tool. So today, to tell you more about it, we have Richard Hollis, who is the Business Development Manager at Cochrane. He's been with Cochrane for 4 years and has worked exclusively with the take-up of the Cochrane interactive learning modules across all markets across the globe. We have Matteo Bruschettini, who is a neonatologist and a professor of pediatrics, and he's the director of Cochrane Sweden. He conducts a lot of systematic reviews on clinical and animal studies, mainly to do with neonatal medicine. And he is based at Lund University in Sweden. We also have Maria Björklund. She is liaison librarian and information specialist at the Faculty of Medicine, also at Lund University in Sweden. So thank you all again. We're really excited to have these fabulous presenters, and I will be monitoring the chat box. So please feel free to put any questions or clarifications in the chat box, and we'll have some time for questions after, but if there's something that relates to each speaker, I can also jump in and ask the speaker to answer your questions. So I leave it to our presenters. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Tiffany. And let me start sharing my screen, and we'll kick off with an overview of Cochrane Interactive Learning. So by way of introduction, as Tiffany mentioned, I've been with Cochrane now for over 4 years, and my raison d'etre really is to bring alive interactive learning program to universities, research teams, anywhere and anyone in the world who is engaged in systematic review production, authoring, or indeed the understanding of those reviews. So a little bit about how we came to set this e-learning program up. Prior to its launch in October 2017 at the Global Evidence Summit, Cochrane had a previous version of an e-learning program, but essentially it was what I would call e-learning 1.0. It was a bit like me now, talking over a PowerPoint. So it really didn't engage the learner. So we really wanted to completely revamp both the content, the presentational styles, and use the very latest technology and pedagogy to bring this alive. Really bringing the Cochrane Handbook alive to new learners. So there were a number of challenges we were facing. Initially, we're talking to multiple different audiences. So although it is designed for Cochrane systematic reviews and intervention reviews in particular, clearly it can be used as a learning resource for anyone developing a systematic review of their own, regardless of where it's being published, through other third-party channels, or indeed as part of a research program. So a multiple audience for members of an existing Cochrane review team, for experienced reviewers or academics who want to use the resource for mentoring and teaching others, both within Cochrane and in the wider systematic review community. The content itself is designed for a personal self-directed study. We estimate, if you were to turn it on Monday morning and start working your way through the course, it would take around 15 or more hours of continuous study, but it's not designed for just a linear approach to study. It's available for you to dip in and out of whenever you're at that point of needing further support or learning. So very adaptable and easy to integrate into taught courses or for blended learning as well. We talking about the downside of just PowerPoint and a voiceover. We really wanted to make this an engaging learning experience. So we partnered with one of the UK's leading e-learning technology companies to develop a suite of content that keeps the user active on screen all the time. So there's always activities, tasks, actions to carry out. So you're very focused on both the content and the learning approach. And with a knowledge base that's underpinned by not just expert authors for each topic area, but linking out to additional content in the Cochrane Handbook. We also wanted to make sure that the learning activities developed and delivered genuine outcomes. So throughout the course itself, each module finishes with an assessment task. It's not mandatory, but many learners do follow through with that assessment exercise. And once passed, then you can download a certificate of completion, which again, in a learning context, can be added to an individual's academic record, learning profile. And I'm sure Maria will speak to that specifically about how that's been deployed at Lund as well. So who's this course for? So not just authors of Cochrane reviews, but any systematic review of interventions, both for new authors embarking on reviews for the first time, experienced authors wanting to refresh their skills, for those that are working with reviews in another context as commissioners or guideline developers, and particularly in the university research space for faculty teachers of EBM educators who want to use the course content alongside or in addition to their own face-to-face teaching, or link it to existing training resources that might be developed by a library. So what's included? 11 different modules written by world experts in their particular field. And we've made this available on what I would call a freemium model. So if you're a registered Cochrane author or part of a Cochrane editorial team, then it's personally available to you for free. Equally, to build capacity in low and medium income countries, we've made this free at point of use for any of the Research for Life Group A and B in RE countries around the world. And you'll see in a moment, we've seen some explosive growth in those particular country markets as it's been widely adopted to support their learning. And it's available on personal subscription for individuals by credit card, or institutional accounts for research institutes and universities that want to acquire unlimited access. 11 different modules through the whole process of writing a review. Module 1 is actually open access and free. You just have to register with a Cochrane account. So if any of you haven't already taken a look at this, then I would encourage you to register and sign in and work through the opening module at your leisure. later today or later this week. And that'll give you a very good feel both for the way the content is presented and what then follows. And then modules 2 to 8 take you through pretty much the linear process of writing a review protocol, search for studies, data analysis, and then writing up the final report as well. So we launched it with those initial 9 modules, 1 to 8, and then added 3 additional modules over the last couple of years on health economics, network meta-analysis, and a growing hot topic of health equity in systematic reviews. So the modules are designed for easy use, both on laptop, on tablet and mobile, and you're able to track your progress through. So the reason we need individual login is because, like say, the Cochrane library or any other database, we do need to be able to monitor your progress so that you can come back and start where you left off very easily. So who's actually using Cochrane Interactive Learning around the world? Well, this is just a snapshot of some, not all, of those research institutes that have benefited from using interactive learning over the last few years. I'm sure you'll recognize some familiar names in there. In fact, CDC just signed up last month in August. So we're delighted to have CDC as part of the wider community there. Here's another slice of data, which gives you an indication on a country basis of where the actual learning activities is taking place. So previous slide really was to illustrate some of those top institutions that are subscribing. Here, this data is actually showing who's doing the learning activities. So this is the number of individual modules that have been initialized or started over the calendar year 2020 by country. So some UK and the US and Australia are very much in those top 10, but there's some interesting outliers as well who are using it as a result of the Research for Life Hinari program. So Peru, for a country of its size, is showing a really fantastic take-up, and you'll see a list of others there too, including, of course, co-presenters from Sweden. More recently, we interviewed a rating reviews feature on the homepage to encourage individual users to leave us some feedback. And just in the last few months, since that functionality went live, we've received over 200 very positive reviews, and that's just wonderful to see the user community sharing their thoughts with us. And obviously, it's very useful for our Cochrane Learning team to be able to take any of that feedback to refine or develop the modules further. But very encouraging feedback from our users. For those of you that are familiar with the US Medical Library Association, their journal reviewed Cochrane Interactive Learning fairly early on in October 2018, and it's just a couple of sound bites from the full review, which is JMLA is an open access journal, so you can easily search and read the full review at your leisure, or just email me if you like a link or PDF copy of that. But again, a wonderful endorsement from MLA. My colleague and friend Maria will be talking a little bit more about how Cochrane Interactive Learning was deployed at Lund University, which I have to say was our first institutional subscriber very early on. So it was wonderful to have Lund on board from the very outset. So I won't dwell on this slide now, as Maria will speak to that in more detail, but a quick summary. I have to say, and I'm sure Maria will mention it, but Maria and her colleagues have also published a very comprehensive working paper on the wider piece of evidence-based education, evidence-based medicine education at Lund, and I'm sure she'll share details of that with you in this course program. But elsewhere in the world, over in Ireland, the Cookman Centre at University of Galway and Evidence in Society Ireland have also deployed Cochrane in a blended learning context, using it as some of their part of their face-to-face and now online training courses, online as a result of COVID. And again, in a similar model to that deployed by Matteo in Cochrane, Sweden. So again, some great feedback from some of the course participants on those two training courses that they use there. So I'm going to just pause for a moment in case there are any immediate questions, and then flip screens and open a web browser and take you a little bit through the platform itself. But if there are any questions, either just feel free to unmute or post them in chat. And I think Tiffany is kindly monitoring the chat.
Yeah, there are a couple of questions I'll just ask you really quickly.
Sure.
Some of them are answered in the chat box by Matteo, thank you, and others. So the one that hasn't been answered, I think, is, are there any modules that discuss covidence?
As in terms of how to use covidence for systematic reviews, you mean? Yeah. The short answer is no, simply because this is really a course about the wider methodologies rather than training in specific tools. So in the same way that we make references, for example, to the Cochrane RevMan, Review Manager software, this isn't for delivering training in Review Manager itself. There are separate resources that Cochrane provides for RevMan, both the download and the RevMan web version. And in the same way, Covidence themselves provide a full suite of training resources for Covidence. So I'm sure we reference it as a resource to use, but it not in any detail as a training course. So, but Covidence themselves have very thorough resources in that space.
Yeah, they do. Thank you.
Okay, so just let me pause a moment. I'm going to just stop sharing while I flip my screens around, and I'll be back just in a moment, as they say, after the break. Bear with me one moment, please. Okay, so here we are again. This is the homepage of Cochrane training with a wide range of different complementary resources there, and a link out to Cochrane Interactive Learning, which is our premium resource here. So I just need to log in, which I'll do with my Cochrane account. So any individual user needs that Cochrane login to either as a personal subscriber or institutional subscriber. And I'll just really spend a few moments to take you through the platform itself before we move on to our other guest speakers. If you're on the homepage, I would encourage you to watch this introductory video. We actually produced it at the Cochrane Edinburgh Colloquium. It also stars Maria and Matteo, and also Marshall from Edinburgh University. So a useful overview of Cochrane Interactive Learning there, which you can watch at your leisure. Equally, those reviews are available to link out to. If you want to know more about the background to how we developed this, just check out the About. And if you're new to subscribing or registering for the first time, go to this page. But the homepage itself is designed as a visual grid of all those different review modules themselves, from the opening introduction in module 1. And you can see now, now that I've logged in, how it's tracked my progress through those different modules. So modules 1 and 2 I've partially completed, and I can go back to at any time to continue. Whereas module 3, I've passed the assessment exercise, and I can download the certificate of completion there as well. And you'll see the same for those other different modules. That's where I can grab my certificates that I've completed, and more details of the different reviews and comments that have been left by users. So let's just go into one of these modules to give you a flavor for the course, and we'll start off with module 1. You'll see each module has an approximate time to complete that particular module. So you've got some sense of how much time you may need to set aside before you start. But let's kick off here. So each module opens with just a little soundbite, thought quote, and some useful tips on how to use not just this module, but the whole platform, which I'll quickly share with you. So we've built in a range of filters and topic tags, so you can bookmark specific themes that you'd like to focus on. There's a progress bar, so you can see how far you're moving through the module at any one time. Cochrane tips are quite an interesting function. We wanted to make sure that the course itself was broad-based and didn't get the learner too bogged down in some of the specifics of Cochrane processes and procedures. So the stuff that's very unique and specific to that of a Cochrane author, the guidance there we've placed behind these little Cochrane tips, and you can click on that and more information pops up. But if you're writing a review for another channel or publication, you can kind of confidently press on and ignore those details. But of course, we also link out at all points to relevant sections of the Cochrane Handbook online for further reference and reading. So let's just now open module 1. So again, each sort of module's title or contents page is presented as a series of graphic images, and we go through the logical process. So why use systematic reviews, the formation of review questions, the process of conducting systematic review, and then the assessment exercise at the end. Particularly for first-time users who are coming to the world of review production, there's often a lot of confusion as to what is a systematic review and what isn't. So some very useful guidance here. We've got a number of embedded videos here, which you can either watch, or if you prefer, we also provide a full transcript of those videos. So if English isn't your first language, it's easy to follow through. Or if you prefer, if your learning style is to read rather than watch, then those transcripts are there. I did just mention language, but we've also translated the entire course into Spanish. So if any of your user communities have Spanish as their first or preferred language, then a Spanish language edition is available. Both versions are included in the same subscription, so you can just toggle from one to the other at any stage. So within the same page now, a more detailed explanation after you've watched the video of the difference between a systematic and non-systematic review. And then just to make sure that you've been paying attention, some further additional elements to the learner to open and read through. So rather than just presenting solid chunks of text or voiceover, the screen design is all about clicking to find out for more, hence calling this this course Cochrane Interactive Learning. And then once you've read through some content, a little exercise to check that you've been understanding that based on the text here, are these the right options? So I'm just going to quickly click a few and then see submit results. And you immediately get some quick feedback saying, that's not quite right. And you can either try again or make a note of what are the correct answers. And just a little more text here. Here's an example of one of those Cochrane tips. So they're just discrete logos on the screen. But if you wanted to know more about this aspect, then you can just pop that open and read it further as well. So that's just an example of just one little chunk of the opening module, and the rest are just presented in the same format. So very visual, plenty to keep you engaged, the learner engaged, and most importantly, a challenging exercise at the end to test your understanding. So as I said earlier, Module 1 is freely available, and I'd certainly encourage and invite you, if you haven't tried this already, to just register for a free Cochrane account and then sign into Module 1 and let me know what you think. So without more ado, I'm going to pause this part of the demo now. If we have time or further questions at the end of the hour, I'm very happy to come back to either going into this in more detail for individuals that want to hang on and stick around. But I hope that's given you a good flavor of the course, both by content and functionality. So again, I'll pause for any further questions before handing back to Tiffany to introduce the next speaker. Thank you.
Thanks, Richard. I don't see any questions in the chat right now, and a number of them have continued to be answered in the chat box. So I think we can move on, and I am sorry, I am not sure if Maria or Matteo is next, but whoever is next, I'll let you go ahead and share your screen. And Richard, I think you'll have to, stop sharing. Perfect. Thank you.
Please, Maria, go first.
Yeah, sure. Then I'll continue. Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Maria Björklund. Let's see if I can share my slides here. Here we go. Yes. There we are. And I'm a liaison librarian at Lund University, Faculty of Medicine. And I'm liaison librarian for both the MD program and the master program in public health. And I also have an information specialist role where I support our researchers and clinicians in doing systematic reviews, clinical guidelines, and so. And those two roles naturally work very fine together. So I'm going to share some of our experiences here today in how we have integrated the Cochrane interactive learning modules at Lund University at the MD program primarily. So we have roughly 1,000 students enrolled at the MD program. And from this fall, a new program is starting, covering 12 semesters or 6 years. So it's a change to the MD program. But we do have a lot of students. Many of them are based in Lund, but we also have other campuses, since all these students naturally need clinical placement. So we rely heavily on the hospitals in the whole southern part of Sweden, actually. The MD program has been very active in using and acquiring digital learning resources for many years before the pandemic too. So that is why Cochrane Interactive Learning also was very interesting for us, also since we are spread out over so many cities. And a couple of years ago, there was a theme launched at the program together with 6 other themes that you can see here. And the theme Scientific Scholarship is where students work with study design, assessing research, evidence-based medicine methods, and so on. So the learning modules also connected very nice to this theme. The context we have learned is very important in how you introduce and use the modules. So I'm going to talk a bit about the context and how we did it in Lund to explain what worked well and what have we learned so far. So this theme stretches throughout the program, and it has many similarities with the scholarship of teaching and learning, that is using research, integrating it in your daily practice, reflection, and so on. So those things are also the foundation of the scientific scholarship. You don't just take a research method course or a statistics course and then you're done. It's rather a whole set of skills and knowledge that the students learn to apply throughout the program. And this is also where the evidence-based medicine comes in, and the methodology of systematic reviews. This is a figure showing the intended progression of the learning in this theme, scientific scholarship. And every semester a new task, a new set of skills is introduced for the students, building on the prior step. So it starts very basic with how to read a paper, how is a research paper structured, how do you read it, how do you understand it, and then it progresses to describing scientific controversies, reading many papers, analyzing them, and so on. And in semester 5, students boost the knowledge in research methods and study design, how to assess papers, how to assess risk of bias, and so. And then it progresses to the more clinical focused semesters, where we also have evidence-based medicine methodology explicitly introduced. So this is a very important part of the scientific scholarship theme. And then we have assessing relevance, assessing quality, grading evidence. Well, I think you get the picture. Semester 10 is entirely dedicated to the master thesis, and this is also a booster for students' knowledge and skills in research methods, study design, and how to assess research papers and evidence more in depth, which is very, very good. Semester 11 and then semester 12 yet to come also focuses on how to communicate evidence to patients and personalizing evidence. So this progression, now we are beginning to see what works, what have we learned so far, and that is what we have summarized in this working paper that was presented earlier here, and it can also be found on the Cochrane website. So this is the theme where the modules have been introduced, and we proceed here. A bit more of the background. We have had this established collaboration with the library and the liaison librarian, that is me, for many, many years. I've been teaching for 10 years at the MD program. So I work very closely with Martin Garbage, who is professor and who is the theme director, so to speak, of scientific scholarship. So we work very closely together with teachers from all these semesters to make sure that there is this intended learning progression. The library has for very long also offered a lot of support, integrated teaching, scheduled teaching, and tutoring from the library and from me. So the students already know who I am and what the library can do for them. When Cochrane Sweden was launched in 2017, we immediately launched a collaboration between the library, Cochrane, and the Faculty of Medicine, and more specifically the MD program. And when the learning modules were introduced in, I think, 2018, we were very keen to try this out, since we saw that this matched the learning outcomes for scientific scholarship. Also realizing that since all the students are spread out in these semesters, the clinical semesters, it's really great to have an online learning option for them. And we integrated these modules in these courses. We split them up over the semester 6, 7, and 8. And they weren't used as learning support only, they were also a part of the formal course assessment. So all students had to complete the modules, download the certificate and hand it in the learning management system as part of the formal course assessment. Together with this, we also designed specific tasks for students relating to evidence-based medicine, such as assessing relevance, assessing quality, grading papers. So together with the modules, they had these locally developed tasks and learning support together with the modules, and that seemed to work very, very good. in last year, last fall, the modules were moved to semester 5, where they did the bachelor thesis or a scientific research project. And we discovered then that the workload was possibly a bit too much for the students. So now we are discussing to split the modules. So they will be doing some of the modules in semester 5 and some in semester 10. And the first 5 modules, that is the introduction, how to write a protocol, how to find studies and select studies and data, and also the very important assessing risk of bias. Those will be in semester 5. And then the other modules, analyzing data, interpreting the findings, writing up the review, will be in semester 10 when they do the master thesis. So we'll see how this works. And I often refer to the CIL modules when I meet students in one-to-one guidance sessions. I often use them in lectures too, of course. So apart from the modules being integrated in the courses, we often use them as a reference to point out for students good examples of how to do things. For instance, what is bias? What can be bias? Or how do you do a quality assessment of papers in a structured way? What does evidence assessment really mean, and so on? How do I do a summary of findings table? So the modules are really great, both integrated and as a standalone tool that you can pick when you need examples on how to do things. So far, so good. The outcomes we have seen so far is that students get very important insights in the methodology of systematic reviews as a foundation for evidence-based medicine. When the students in semester 5 are introduced to the modules, it's not only how to set up an account, but also why are they so important? Why is it so important to know more about this methodology? So the student get the whole picture of why these modules are important. And we can see as a result, more students choose to do a systematic review as a master thesis in semester 10. And students are trained in the EBM methodology cumulatively, which is really, really great. And we can also see that students get both these international and national contexts of EBM and the importance of mastering this methodology. And as we have seen, it works both as a standalone learning for one-to-one guidance session, but it also works very good integrated in courses together with other tasks for students to do, written assignments and so on. What we have noticed is that students are not tired of working with EBM or the Cochrane modules. Quite the contrary. Yes, there is a workload, and we are trying to respond to that in the way we can by placing the modules where we think they fit best. But we can also see that the students really are genuinely interested in the methodology of systematic reviews and how to critically assess research. So they are asking for more support, more training in this, more workshops, more opportunities to discuss, more opportunities to see clinicians working with this methodology. So that is something that I'm very, very happy to see that this is actually happening. This is only a beginning, so to speak. We can build upon this. What we have learned so far, it helps if you want to embed the modules, look at what the learning outcomes say. Do they match the modules you want to integrate? That is, of course, something that helps in succeeding. You can, of course, provide the modules as an optional learning resource, but you can also use it as part of the formal course assessment to push students into the modules to make full use of them. And of course, you can stretch the modules out over several semesters if you like. It depends on how your education is structured and the learning outcomes, I would say. And what we have learned so far, well, if students are new to systematic reviews, it's good to give them the context. Why is this important? Why do we do this? How do you do it? And give them examples of how they can apply this later on in the clinical context. It's also good to help them with locally developed learning activities, videos, written assignments and so on, that is in alignment with what the Cochrane modules do. And it's also a great idea to invite people to collaborate. you need librarians, you need teachers, you need clinicians, as many people as can possibly involved here. So students get more examples and more teachers or tutors to ask about this. Why is this important and how can I use it? So this is one of the key factors, I think, this collaboration that we have developed in integrating the modules. We are many people who are engaged in the modules and the use of the modules, not only students, but also teachers going into them and learning things. So that's something that I would like to encourage you to do, not only to try to integrate and use the modules when it fits your local context, but also to invite people to collaborate on this. Okay, I'll stop sharing. We have had quite a journey with these modules, as you can see, but we are very happy about them and the way this whole theme is developing, scientific scholarship, and how evidence-based medicine and the methodology is really structured in a nice way, and students are learning it progressively. So hopefully this serves as an inspiration for you, so you can go in and try the modules yourself and see how they can be used at your own institutions at home. Thank you. Are there any questions perhaps?
There are some that have been answered in the chat box. Thank you, Richard. I don't see any active ones unless anyone would like to unmute and jump in. And if not, thank you so much, Maria. Excellent information. And we'll move on to Matteo.
Yes, thank you very much for inviting me to present what we are doing at Cochrane Sweden with Cochrane Interactive Learning. And thank you very much, Richard and Maria, for the presentation, because it explains so well about cognitive learning and how this is used. And Richard is always so helpful and kind in helping us in how best integrate CIL, cognitive learning, different formats in our training activities. And Maria is also a Cochrane member. She came to the Cochrane colloquium, and she's expanding. So a few months ago now, we have at the university not only CIL for everyone, but also co-evidence and with access. So it's really, I don't know what Maria will do next year. And so today, I will just adjust the 3-4 slides, so I will be short. And first, about the usage. Actually, this slide is about how many CIL modules have been passed by country at the beginning of this year. Richard might have more updated figures. And in Sweden, we are doing quite well for a 10 million people country. And it's mainly because of the university, because of this strong commitment. So we think that this will strongly impact in creating new generation of medical doctor mainly, but not only, aware of the Cochrane methodology overall, and also how to use it in their future, in their professional future. And so this slide summarizes our 3 main uses of the CIL here at Cochrane Sweden. So Cochrane Sweden was launched 4 years ago, 2017, and then already in 2018, we started with a 40-hour course from Monday to Friday, where every morning, Monday to Friday, is in the class. This year, for the pandemic, was virtual. And then every afternoon, the delegates have to go through the modules of the CIL. So this is a kind of blended use of the CIL, putting together the lecture in the morning. People can, of course, pose questions to the speakers, to Cochrane trainers, and then going through the modules. This is, in our experience, probably the most productive use of CIL, because we have a group of people motivated, interested to learn about the Cochrane methodology. They can pose questions every day to us. They attend to the lectures, and then they go through these modules. Also, for us, it's very convenient as organizer trainers of this course, because this is the course. So we need the delegates to pass some kind of examination. And we do use the modules of the CIL. They're quite tricky. Some questions requires people need to read it very carefully. And depending on the course, we might ask sometimes like module 1 to 8 or all modules, depending on the format of the course that we run. So this we have this course twice a year. It's always in English. Since last year it's online, but May 2022 will be again on campus face to face. And so this is the first option of UCIL. This is the latest, a 5-week full-time master in medical science course, something that is going to start now, the end of this year. And again, CIL, Cognitive Learning, is part of this master course. So there will be lecture, group work, workshop, assignment, and going through the theory of the modules CIL, and then also passing some of the modules of the CIL. And then we use the CIL for individual training, so one-to-one. We are privileged because the medical student at the last year come to us and already listened to Maria and colleagues. They already went through most of the modules of the cognitive learning. So they came to us and they are not Cochrane naive. They already know part of the methodology. So this allows us during the 20 weeks full time when the medical student come to Cochrane Sweden, we can start not from zero. And then we use again the CIL to refresh the learning, to give new tasks. And then every year we have a couple of medical students becoming co-authors of Cochrane reviews, where CIL is used as a kind of a living handbook. And of course, I'm very welcome to meet us at the office, to send email with questions, to meet face to face. But then also they already know how to use CIL, how to explore the resources, how to read the tips, and so this is working very nicely. Finally, the last example I'd like to share with you today is about the Cochrane International Mobility Program. This was launched 3 years ago, originally by Cochrane Sweden, Austria, Netherlands, but then it is now an official Cochrane program. You can find more information then at this link. And this is about the Cochrane International Mobility. So people from different countries can move from one Cochrane Center to another to learn. It's open to everyone. No limits about age, about the seniority, about the geography. It's really open to everyone. And in this my last slides, just some examples, some screenshots of people that in the last couple of years have been collaborating with the CIM. I'm saying this because CIL, Cognitive Learning, is a key part of this. And some of these junior researchers, for example, Anna, they already know the methodology, so maybe she doesn't need to go to CIL, maybe just to refresh sometimes, I don't know. For others, they're completely new. So they really use CIL modules as an additional resource to learn how to conduct the Cochrane review. And yeah, so these are screenshots taken from our own website. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Matteo, and Maria and Richard. Excellent information about these really useful and comprehensive modules. We have about 10 minutes left. Are there any questions for any of our speakers? If so, you can feel free to unmute yourself and direct it towards the person who may best be able to answer.
Also, I just wanted to let everyone know, I just dropped a link in the chat for where the recording of today's session will be. So if you'd like to revisit or share it, please feel free to do so. It'll take me about a day or two to process it. But this is the website for the Rocky Mountain US Cochrane Network affiliate in the chat there.
Thanks, Nina. And feel free to contact me anytime if you have questions about the Cochrane US network or any of our 23 center affiliates in the Cochrane US network. I'll put my email in the chat, and also follow us on Twitter to make sure you're staying up to date on all of these exciting events and free webinars and courses and all kinds of stuff. So if there are no questions, and I don't know, Richard, if you want to throw your, or Maria or Matteo, your email in the chat in case someone wants to contact you directly. If you feel comfortable with that, otherwise they can contact me and I can put them in touch with you. There's one question here. How did you get buy-in from the medical schools? This is a huge time commitment. That's a great question.
Yeah, as I said in the beginning, we have a collaboration going far back in time, where the library has been very integrated in the medical program, and since in Lund the MD program has been very interested also in online learning resources, integrating the modules and the cost of it, which we split between three parts, the MD program, the library and ICT unit, and Cochrane Sweden. That wasn't really an issue. Rather, there were practical questions on how to do it, how to squeeze it in some semesters. But since there was already a collaboration in place, there weren't really any problems with this. Also, since it linked together so nice with this new theme that was launched, a scientific scholarship, there weren't really any problems as I could see it. So there is of course a bit of negotiation, and you have to be very proactive as a librarian, for instance, or perhaps also as a teacher, to get this huge structure as the theme is, but also perhaps if you want to use the modules, you have to negotiate and collaborate with many people to make it work. Short answer to a very, very complex and time-consuming question.
Thank you, Maria. And we do have everyone's email here in the chat box if you wanted to follow up with anyone. It looks like everyone gets 7 extra minutes to their day, which is great. So I want to thank Nina again, and the Strauss Library and Colorado Anschutz Cochrane Affiliate Center, who is part of the US network. And please do join us again for this monthly series. And like Nina said, there's actually another one coming up in September. So we hope to see you all again soon. Thanks so much for joining us.